Good day, everybody. So why do I believe that 80-10-10, the low-fat, raw, vegan diet of eating predominantly fruits and vegetables with a small amount of nuts and seeds is fragile? And what do I mean by fragile? I mean it's not able to work well in the real world. It's not practical. It's ideal. It's a great idea, but it doesn't really work in most people's lives. And so stop feeling guilty that you failed at 80-10-10. It's not your fault. It's the fault of the diet. How is that? Why is 80-10-10 fragile? Well, there's basically 4 areas of our lives that really have to work well together in order to have any kind of diet work in our lives. And that is, it has to work where we live, it has to work within our time constraints, it has to work within our social environment, and it has to work for us financially. And this is where 80-10-10 seems to be wanting. For example, geographically, you need to be living in an area, either you live in a tropical climate where you can get fresh, ripe fruit all year round, or you're going to have to live in an area like Toronto here, where I can get a pretty good variety of tropical fruit year round. But that brings us to the next problem. And that is time. It takes me time to go out and get those varieties of fruit. They're not in one location. Or it takes time to make sure that you're always well supplied because you're eating through a lot of fruit. And it takes time to eat the fruit. So if you don't have the geography ideal and you don't have the time to put into making this diet work, that becomes a challenge in and of itself. And then there is the social side that everyone faces when they attempt to do 80-10-10. And it's because the diet is socially awkward. With family, with friends, with colleagues at work, it just becomes, you feel like you're kind of alienated from the rest of from everybody else, unless all your friends are practicing the same kind of diet. But how many of us have that luxury where everybody's doing the same thing that we're doing? The other one is financial. And that's a biggie for a lot of people, especially for families. Try feeding your family, your children, your spouse, everybody, on predominantly fruits, where they're getting the most of their calories from eating fruit. It's just impossible for most people out there. Even for people to just feed themselves on fruit is expensive. Unless, again, if you're eating just bananas, then you could probably do it because you can always find places where you can get bananas at a discount. But is that really, that sounds kind of boring to me, to be eating nothing but bananas. I think I would be going bananas after a while. So if you don't have these 4 conditions, geography, time, social, and financial, working well together with the diet begins to break down after a while, and that's where the fragility lies. It's an idealized diet based on a philosophy that I believe personally is flawed. And I'll get into that in another video. The whole idea of man being a frugivore, which I believe, we are, our origins is we are basically frugivores, but it's where you take the logic further out, it begins to fall apart. Okay, let's stop talking about that part. I want to focus on the practicality here of 80-10-10 and why it's fragile. Like, let's take an example. I believe for a diet to be successful, it not only has to promote health and fitness, but it also needs to work in almost every environment. And that's how humans have expanded throughout the globe. It's because we have been incorporating and adapting a diet that works for that, and that is the high starch diet. I mean, let's look at the most difficult job in the world, the President of the United States of America. At least I think it's the most difficult job. It's definitely in the top 10. There's no question about that. Could the President of the United States, with the kind of job he has, always traveling around and meeting with dignitaries and whatever and dealing with all the crap of the world, would he be able to do this, eating a predominantly fruit-based diet? I think it would be extremely challenging. Could he do a high-starch diet? I don't think there would be any problem with that whatsoever. In fact, it would work quite well for him. And that's the same with everybody. It's always a challenge to try to, bring fruit to work and to incorporate fruit into your daily lives, because most people's lives is not just a simple matter of going out and shopping, buying fruit, taking them home and eating them. There's more demands on them. Whereas eating a high starch diet is quite simple to follow and to incorporate into every aspect of your life. So, I mean, there's no issue geographically, there's no issue with time, socially there's no issue, and financially it's affordable. So, I don't want to discourage people who are exploring the fruitarian lifestyle. I've done it. I was doing it for the last 4 years, and I'm glad I read the 80-10-10 diet by Dr. Douglas Graham, and I learned a lot from that. I like the ideal of 80% carbohydrates, 10% fat, 10% protein. It's a nice guideline to work with for a person my age. And the emphasis of eating more fruit, introducing more fruit into your diet, like who can argue that fruit isn't good for you? Of course it's good for you. But to take this diet and idealize it and try to live it 100%, I found it to be difficult, and I've already mentioned in my other videos the problems I had with that. And it wasn't just external problems, it was also what was going on inside of me as well. But please don't let me stop you from exploring it. You should explore it, but don't get sort of where you've got the blinders on and you can't see any other possibility. I think you're going to create a lot of unnecessary stress in your life. What you want to find is a diet that works well for you in the circumstances that you live in. Remember, you're not here to serve food. Food is here to serve you, and that's a big difference. So if you're having problems with the way that you're eating, you got to ask yourself, am I now serving food? Am I now a slave to this diet? Or is this diet really serving me in the lifestyle that I live? Something to think about. Anyways, until next time, take care and carb up.